And good morning to our dear viewer. Unfortunately, I wasn't following. I was live on air.
Oh, yeah,
and,
you were there.
And I only got to view some snippets of what happened there. Yes. A little bit of the highlights from CNN, the BBC, in regards to what the president shared. And there was something I got to realize, that many people were talking about the tech giants that were on ground, and many people threw a blind eye on the Google CEO who was in between Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
And in every picture he was there, but very few people could tell who he was.
People didn't know him. Actually,
yes.
Even I, at first I was like, who is this guy talking to Elon Musk?
So, and many people were saying, they were giving the order, the 3 top tech giants or 3 top richest people in the world. And the 4th person was, you know, people were just treating him like an ordinary human being. And it was after many others who have been, you know, very, who have been following the tech news and also been following the updates from Forbes, who go to remind people that, hey, there is the Google CEO in between these 2 gentlemen, and many of you are not paying attention. And he's amongst the wealthiest individuals in the world. But again, Olive, also from the same highlights of President Donald Trump is, you know, swearing in, I got to see the fact that he re-emphasized on the element of 2 genders. Yes. And he said in his reign it's only 2 genders that he's going to recognize, that is male and female, meaning to him he's already someone who has his own way of doing things in regards to what we've usually known from the side of the American people, and of course the excitement coming in from many of his supporters. And then as we're coming on air, there are also other updates coming in that have revealed that he pardoned over 1,000. He has pardoned over 1,000 of the January 6 U.S. Capitol rioters. If we are to remember those times of COVID-19, the rioters then. So it is one historical bit of the inauguration, the 47th President of the United States, but then also many of the things that he's likely to be doing in his administration as the 47th President.
Yes, and now on the side of fashion, Oscar de la Renta did dress the incoming Vice President and no, the second lady, that is Usha Vance. And I've seen online some people saying they're going to boycott these designers for dressing the MAGA team, because they dressed Melania and also dressed Usha Vance. So we'll see how that is going to go, because I remember in 2017 we had threats of the same kind. One came from Snoop Dogg saying he would leave America if Trump became president, and yet on the eve, the dinner that was held on the eve of the inauguration, guess who performed? It was Snoop Dogg. So anyway, many people will say many things, but one thing is for sure, Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States of America. But also, before he left, one of the last things he did in his last hours, Joe Biden pardoned his family members. He gave them a blanket pardon, and he said that if he didn't do that, they would face trouble with the incoming administration, where he said they would face politically charged offenses. So he gave them a blanket pardon, so none of his family members will have to face the music when it comes to the Trump administration. And he did say that pardoning them doesn't indicate that there was any wrongdoing.
I've also remembered one of the other key highlights, by the way, is Reverend Lorenzo, who was preaching ahead of the swearing-in ceremony of Donald Trump, and he has also been making headlines across the media platforms. The pastor who was there, of course, when you look at his presentations, it brought back memories of Martin Luther King.
It was on Martin Luther Day,
and you know, it kind of brought back many of the people who are following, especially those that belong to the black race in the United States, were pretty much they kind of felt represented in one way or the other. So it's
I don't know.
So much really happened
again,
yesterday.
when I was watching CBS Mornings, Gail King did say the room was full of many white people. She did comment and said, I don't see many persons of color in this room. Is everyone saying what I am saying? But I would like to bring Robert Chabo into the conversation. Good morning, Robert. And have you been following what was transpiring in the United States?
Well, there is so much that I've been following there, but of course also so many questions. Now I have, as far as US democracy is concerned, as champions of democracy, champions of human rights and morality. Now, I was looking at Trump pardoning, that is the January 6th rioters. One would say this is good, 1,500 of them. Now, these first and foremost rioting in his favor. So I usually tell people there are certain things that are legally right, but morally wrong. Joe Biden, from his son Hunter, now he goes to the family, giving them another pardon as well, you know, as he's moving out of office. Legally right, morally wrong. Now, what happens when this happens on the African continent? I think these are some of the things we must learn as Africans and critically analyze them. Because I remember one time His Excellency pardoned a number of people, and some of them had, I think, on defilement cases. People are like, but how this morally? Yes, these things happen all over because they are rights of leaders. Now come to Trump's immigration policy. Actually, Trump has never been for Africans, I must say. Because most of the times from the lot of money he used to build that wall over Mexico, where he's saying we are fighting immigration, now to the policies here, cracking down on immigrants. That's another thing. But I think for me what stood out for me on moral grounds is him coming clear and saying America is a two-sex gender. Male and female. Period. I think there I felt I wanted to hug Donald Trump. I wanted to give him the best if I could. A very strong hug and say, may the name of the Lord be praised. Now, also, when we look at TikTok having about 75 days, I think this is something that is going to disturb a number of Americans. When you're coming in, yes, you're like, it's from today on, TikTok is, as of now, on. So there's so much we can wait, and one thing I'm very sure, Trump is never full of surprises, like when he said, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Change Agreement. Olive, the world is looking at the environment as a priority. Anything to do with the environment, we are all ready to embrace it. Now, here is the Paris Climate Change Agreement that Donald Trump is saying, no, in my time, US, we are withdrawing. And this is where some of the African countries looked at those countries that are so much destroying the environment because of their industries and all that, giving something like a compensation to African countries. And during the COP, they were pushing for what they called the loss and damage fund. That because you do so much havoc, for us who are not doing that much, pay us in one way or the other, so that there is a fund we get money from, so that we can adopt to the problems you create for us. Now, here comes a man who says we are going to withdraw from such an agreement. He's Donald Trump. We just have to wait.
Of course, he's Donald Trump, and he did say that he's going, in his first 100 days, one of the things he's going to work on is to ensure that the wars that are taking place end. But also he said he's going to ensure that their countrymen do not have to be involved in certain wars, like to start any wars. And one thing you should give Donald Trump is that he's not a warmonger. He showed us this in his first term, and he's going with the same. Now, some people who love Donald Trump say he is consistent with his word. He doesn't mince his words, and also he remains consistent when it comes to his word. And he did touch on the fact that Palestine or the Hamas have released the hostages they had. They released 3 of them, and because of that, 90 Palestinians that had been held by Israeli forces were also released. So let's watch and see the first 100 days of Donald Trump as president and how that is going to impact African countries like Uganda, because we should note that much of our aid comes from the United States, especially when you look at sectors like education and also health. So let's watch and see. But for now, let's get into the local news.
A section of members of parliament have disagreed with the social media remarks describing MPs as clowns. The description are purported to have been posted on the X handle of the Chief of Defence Forces, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, after the Committee of Defence and Internal Affairs summoned him to Parliament on Friday 17th of this very month. Despite the summon, the Committee on Defence adjourned the would-be Monday meeting which the CDF was meant to appear. This raised mixed reactions from both the MPs and the general public. The CDF ignored the summons in his response through the X platform, formerly Twitter. In his response, General Muhoozi is purported to have described the MPs as clowns and was not ready to adhere to the summon. By the twist of events, the Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs, Baram Barugahare, was recorded saying that the X account of the CDF was hacked. Nevertheless, the purported description that portrays MPs is something legislators have left to rot under the carpet. Understanding whether it was important or urgent to summon the CDF, since the other representatives were in the Friday meeting, is something that is only dictated by the rules of procedure of the House. There is no cause for alarm if the commander of a department turns down a summon by Parliament. The committee adjourned its would-be Monday engagement, sparking mixed reactions. The situation is amid a season of scrutinizing the budget framework paper for various ministries, departments and agencies.
Over 22 million registered voters to fully participate in the forthcoming 2026 general elections. The chairman of the Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Byabakama, made the revelation at the flagging off of the National Voters Register update exercise at one of the polling stations in Kamocha, a Kampala suburb where the exercise officially commenced. The 21-day exercise will run until February 10th, 2025 and will be conducted daily, including weekends at designated parish centers across the country. The National Voters Register update exercise has been flagged off by the chairperson at one of those stations. The purpose of the exercise is to register Ugandans aged 18 and above who are not yet on the voters register. In 2021, the Electoral Commission had a projection of 18.4 million voters. However, the chairperson, Justice Simon Byabakama, revealed a new target for this exercise. The Commission aims to increase the number of polling stations from the current 37,000 to accommodate the projected rise in voter numbers after the exercise. Justice Byabakama urged the public to utilize the 21-day period, stating that there will be no extensions to ensure proper planning for the elections. The exercise is linked with the National Identification and Registration Authority, addressing transparency concerns and ensuring accuracy. The politicians are encouraged to mobilize the voters to actively participate in the exercise. Now, the residents of Kamocha appreciated the government for bringing services closer to the people. The exercise also is also going to be involving compiling and updating registers for special interest groups, including the National Youth Voters Register, the Persons with Disabilities Voters Register, and the National Older Persons Voters Register for their respective councils and committee elections.
It has been a low turn-up and fair in most areas of Kampala as the first day of the Electoral Commission Voters Register Update exercise kicked off yesterday. In areas of Kampala Metropolitan, it was a situation on the first day of fair turn-up. In Kawempe Division, a suburb of Kampala, Katushabe Patricia is one of the staff deployed by the Electoral Commission to oversee the exercise in one of the parishes. In an interview, Katushabe shared with UBC the key issues the Electoral Commission is focusing on. This was the same situation in the neighborhood of Kiwaya, still in Kawempe Division. According to officers manning different stations, the exercise received a low turn-up on the first day. For those who misplaced their national identity cards, the exercise is likely to push them aside. This time round, the Electoral Commission is working alongside officials from the National Identification Authority, NIRA. For other areas, including Wakiso, Nansana, Gombe, among others, the exercise has kicked off as intended. On one side, which stands out clear, is when one misses to clear up his details during this exercise, he or she stands low chances of fully participating in the 2026 general elections.
And away from that, police have launched an investigation in uncoordinated-like operation that led to the killing of 5 suspected robbers at Acacia Mall in Kamocha last week. Now, this follows public criticism. The Minister of Internal Affairs, Major General Kahinda Otafire, and human rights activists accusing police of acting unprofessional. With the ongoing criticism on police handling of an operation involving suspected robbers adjacent to Acacia Mall in Kamocha last week, where 5 killed on spot and 1 sustained severe injuries. Police have provided records of these persons, linking them to previous aggravated robberies in Kampala Metropolitan. Now, however, investigations have been launched to ascertain the alleged uncoordinated mob justice-like operation by security operatives attached to the flying unit of the Uganda police. Now, this also comes after public scrutiny on the matter, and the Minister in charge of Internal Affairs, Major General Kahinda Otafire, while appearing before the Parliamentary Defense Committee, committed instituting investigations into the incident.
Well, now we look at the international news stories where Donald Trump takes center stage. Donald Trump has been sworn in for a 2nd term as the President of the United States in Washington, D.C. Trump used his inaugural address to reiterate his grievances against his political opponents, saying he would liberate the country from a radical and corrupt establishment. Declaring that government faces a crisis of trust, Trump pledged in his inaugural address a brighter future under his administration. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed, our safety will be restored, the scales of justice will be rebalanced, he said. Trump claimed a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal, promising to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, he added, America's decline is over. Trump also unveiled a series of executive actions he plans to take in quick succession after his inauguration. The executive orders are the first step in what Trump is calling the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. In the same breath, President Donald Trump on Monday pardoned nearly everyone criminally charged with participating in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol in a show of solidarity with supporters who stormed the seat of American power in his name. The far-reaching action also cuts short the sentences of 14 members of the far-right Proud Boys and Oath Keepers organizations, including some who are convicted of seditious conspiracy. The document also directs the U.S. Attorney General to drop all pending cases related to the riot. What they've done to these people is outrageous, Trump, a Republican, told reporters in the Oval Office. The moves fulfill a campaign promise by Trump to aid supporters who are charged and in many cases imprisoned for crimes committed during the riots, a failed attempt to stop the congressional certification of Democrat Joe Biden's 2020 election victory. A lawyer for the former leader of the far-right Proud Boys group, Enrique Tarrio, said he expected his client to be released from federal prison. Some federal inmates serving Jan 6 related sentences could be released as soon as Monday, a Bureau of Prison spokesperson said, adding that the Bureau was still waiting on official action by Trump. Now heading down to the southern part of Africa, the first wife of South Africa's Zulu king, Misuzulu Khwezela-Ntini, has failed in her legal attempt to halt his plans to take a 3rd wife. Queen Thokozo Kamaisela went to court ahead of what was expected to be the wedding later this week. But despite the ruling, it is not clear whether the wedding will still go ahead ahead as planned. On Saturday, South African media quoted a letter reportedly from the king saying the ceremony had been called off due to reasons beyond the control of the royal house. Polygamous marriages are recognized in South Africa, but only if they are registered as customary weddings. This latest rule comes amid a series of scandals that has hit King Misuzulu since he came to power just over 2 years ago. The Zulu king does not have formal political power, and the monarch's role within broader South African society is largely ceremonial, but he remains hugely influential with a yearly government-funded budget of several $million. Before he was enthroned, the king married Maisela in 2021 in a civil marriage. In her legal argument heard in the High Court on Monday, the Queen, through her lawyer, said that the king could not marry anyone else as their marriage was still in force. Interesting events coming in from South Africa. But from what I know, polygamous customary marriages are potentially polygamous even down here in Uganda. But anyway, we have further updates coming in from Tanzania. Tanzania has declared a Marburg virus disease outbreak after confirming one case and identifying 25 suspected cases in the Kagera region of northwestern Tanzania. Now, the Marburg virus is a highly infectious and often fatal disease which is similar to Ebola and is transmitted to humans from fruit bats and monkeys. It should be noted that last week Tanzania denied that they had an outbreak, but this week they have confirmed. And still in the world of health, it turns out that the US's newly sworn-in president, Donald Trump, has also declared to withdraw the United States of America from the World Health Organization. And Trump's frustration with the World Health Organization goes back to the height of the COVID-19 era, and he repeatedly criticized the organization for being too slow on responding to the pandemic. So he's withdrawing the US from WHO. Well, interesting events going on, but let's look at the press.
Well, starting off with the New Vision, it is highlighting something to do with Donald Trump, his inauguration. They ask Trump what Uganda expects. There is a breakdown: trade relations, access to the US markets expected to grow, protection of marriage values. Trump pledges golden age, and President Museveni promises closer bilateral ties, writes the New Vision. Then also, Besigye rejects prisons food reasons in today's New Vision. Now, Otafire to Amongi, prove your worth. Find details there in the New Vision today. Now, 4 have been arrested over organ harvesting. More of the report is in today's New Vision. The New Vision also writes, voters register update starts. At the front page, you can see officials from the Electoral Commission at the front page of the New Vision. And then also in the Teen Vision, the free pull-out is inside for the matters healthy relationships. Then away from the New Vision, the Daily Monitor writes, foiled robbery or execution is the bigger question there at the front. The questions in between the lines say 3 of the 6 suspected criminals that were shot dead by police on January 13th in a city suburb had no prior criminal record. The force has said, raising queries on why the suspects were killed merely on suspicion and not arrested. And of course, at the front page, there are 4 faces of those that were killed during this particular foiled robbery. Now, Donald Trump's on Biden upon return to the White House. Pictorial of Donald Trump waving to his supporters at the front page of the Daily Monitor. Now, in the Prosper magazine, where investors made and lost money in 2024, and then PLE is out this week, according to news coming in from the Daily Monitor. Now, in the other news, the poll reforms opposition parties want ahead of the elections in 2026. Now, update of voters register hits hurdles on day 1, writes the Daily Monitor. In Kenya, Uhuru versus Ruto Season 2, the Daily Nation highlights matters politics. The Gen Z Steve, the recent reapproachment between President William Ruto and his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta, has taken a new twist after a public exchange of words cast doubts on their supposed truce, even as the former head of state's Jubilee Party ruled out rumors of a political deal. Now, also matters tribute. Fare thee well, Bob Munro, bell tolls for towering figure who made Kenyan football the richer. Now, you can see the founder of Mathare United and Mathare Youth Sports Association died on Sunday at his Westlands home in Nairobi at the age of 84. So there is a tribute to him in today's Daily Nation. And then there is a report saying, when love goes sour, the tragic end of 3 women. The front page, Winnie Akusuha, Lydia Tokeshi, and Nancy Bonke are the victims of this. And then Trump vows swift action as he is sworn in for a second term. And there's a picture of Donald Trump being sworn in as the 47th President of the United States by Chief Justice John Roberts, as Melania Trump holds the Bible during the inauguration ceremony. Now, funding for the Deputy President's office up 164% after Kindiki moved into the office, a new report has found. Now, Odinga family partners in 120 billion Kenya shillings housing project. The project, which is on a 285-acre parcel owned by the Jaramogi Odinga family, will consist of 1,400 houses, commercial premises, and social amenities such as schools and hospitals. Then lastly, from the press review, Tanzania with the Citizen, value of local farms drives Dar stock market growth. The Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange delivered a strong performance in 2024, marked by increased market value and trading activity driven by rising equity prices of major local companies. And of course, there is a breakdown that shows that domestic market capitalization rose by 7.4%, reaching 12.24 trillion Tanzanian shillings in 2024, up from 11.4 trillion recorded in 2023. And then the market value, the market's total value surged by 22.3% to 17.87 trillion Tanzanian shillings, including cross-listed companies. Now, millions in the US to be deported as Trump is sworn in, writes the Citizen. And then in the national health, Tanzania confirms Marburg case. Find the details in the Citizen. And then also why Samia picked Nchimbi as running mate in 2025 general elections. Now also, watch the throne. It's D-Day for Chadema chairmanship battle. After nearly a month of intense debate and competition, today marks the decisive moment in the contest between Freeman Mbowe and Tundu Lissu for the position of Chadema national chairman. More of that is with the press review today.
Well, thank you, Jerome Paul. Now we will take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking matters education. Educations are trying to have the 1.5 points given to girls done away with. What you say regarding that? Would like to hear your view. But here is the script with Hall of Fame.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Get up, you good-for-nothing lazy.
Morning, beautiful.